Hello everybody. Thank you for tuning in to the Noiseless Madman podcast. I am coming to you live right now. That's right, live this very moment. If you're listening, I thank you for tuning in. I am the Noiseless Madman, aka Ryan, creator of the blog noiselessmadman.wordpress.com. And if you're not familiar with what I do, the things I talk about, I pretty much just talk about movies, TV shows, current events, pop culture, stuff like that. So, this is my first time broadcasting live, and I gotta say it's pretty exhilarating. It feels exhilarating. So, let's just go ahead and get right into it here. Over this weekend, I saw the movie The Revenant. The Revenant starring Leonardo DiCaprio. And I honestly have to say, I was blown away. I mean, it's obviously, I know it won some awards at the Golden Globes, but even before that, it looked really interesting to me. I wasn't really sure. I was kind of on the fence about it, but then I saw it this past Sunday, and wow, it's really awesome. It's just, completely awesome. Leonardo DiCaprio definitely deserves that award. This movie deserves that award. The director, the cinematographer, everybody who worked on this movie or who was a part of it in some way, no matter how small, they all deserve recognition for it. It's just, just to reveal a little bit about it, it's based on a novel, which the novel is, I guess, somewhat loosely based on the true life story of frontiersman Hugh Glass, who lived sometime during the 1800s. Supposedly, this movie is supposed to take place sometime during 1823. At least that's what I read. And Leonardo DiCaprio's character, he's Hugh Glass, the main character. It starts off with him exploring the unexplored wilderness, hunting various animals, killing them for their pelts, their skin, their hide, and collecting it up, taking it back so they can sell it back in their hometown or their various hometowns. And then, of course, they get ambushed, attacked, brutally attacked by the native tribe there. And I want to say this kind of takes place up towards Canada, somewhere around there. Of course, this was during a time when it was pretty much 90% forest, or a little more than 90% forest up there. And so this scene alone, when they get attacked by this tribe, it's pretty brutal. It's kind of like, it seems as though it comes out of nowhere, but then at the same time, you realize, they should have been expecting it. And I guess which they were, but, it caught them off guard. And one thing I like about this movie, too, is the fact that it really accurately depicts the plight of the various native tribes, indigenous peoples. The fact that they, for so many of them, were encroached upon and had their villages pillaged and burned to the ground, and the women were stolen, taken by Frenchmen, taken by Englishmen, taken by colonialists, just taken by outsiders in general. And, they raped their women, they took their children, who knows what they did with the children, probably raped some of them, unfortunately. But yeah, this movie it's good at depicting all of this. And it's definitely, it's not a happy-go-lucky, feel-good kind of movie, primarily because of this fact that, it's depicting a very brutal time in history, a particular time in which, the white man pretty much did everything he could to eradicate all traces of the indigenous peoples. So, yeah, obviously, I don't know, because some of the reviews I read before and after seeing this movie was the biggest complaint that people had about it was that the fact that it seemed too brutal and gory, and because of all the violence in it, and but to me, I was pretty much I was expecting that to begin with. You know, I don't know, maybe because of the fact that the couple of movies that Leonardo DiCaprio was in before were nothing like this. So I guess they were going based off of that, his previous performances, you know. But I don't know. But I mean, I will say that, yeah, The Revenant, it's not at all like anything Leonardo DiCaprio has done before, which is a good thing. I consider it a good thing. But if you're not into these kinds of movies that show accurate, brutal violence, then you're not going to like it. And you're going to consider this to be obviously not one of his best roles. But for me, I definitely, I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio, just yesterday I was telling one of my friends that, you know, about this movie, and he was asking me, you know, if it was good and what was it about, and he told me, he said, oh, so would you say that he's a lot better in this than in the Titanic? And right away I said, yeah, are you kidding me? I mean, not to denote the very real, you know, tragedy that was the Titanic, but I mean, the movie itself, it's obviously a blatant exaggeration for the most part. But I mean, I flat out told him, I said, hey, if after you see this movie, I mean, it makes the movie, the Titanic, seem like a tugboat or something along those lines. You know, and again, that's not to denote the tragedy of the actual Titanic, but strictly speaking about the movie, the Titanic, you know, because me, I never really liked the movie, the Titanic, that much. I thought it was, you know, interesting. Obviously, when it came out, at the time that it came out, there was no other movie quite like it at the time, so that's why it was so popular. And I thought Leonardo DiCaprio was all right in that movie as his character Jack. But compared to this movie, The Revenant, I told the same friend too that, you know, hey, I mean, no, Leonardo DiCaprio, he deserves that award that he won. He deserves all the awards. You know, no contest. You know, in my opinion, he deserves to win as many awards as possible. You know, so, and then another scene that was interesting, which I both liked and didn't like, but there's a scene in which he gets mauled by a bear, this mother grizzly bear, who of course is just, you know, doing nothing but protecting her two little cubs, because of the fact that Leonardo DiCaprio's character Hugh Glass, he's, you know, hunting through the wilderness and he has a rifle, and she sees him approach her cubs with a rifle. Though it was never made quite clear whether he planned on shooting them or not. But he didn't really have time to think, because then all of a sudden the mother grizzly bear came out from behind some shrubbery or something like that. She just charged right at him, and, you know, man, she just grabbed him, clawed him, and scratched him, dug into his skin, and literally, you know, carved into his back, and she sliced his skin, a good portion of his skin off. You know, and yeah, it does sound pretty horrific, and it is. But it's just so, the way that scene was done, it was, you know, it made you really feel like you were experiencing this mauling, you know, or at least I did. That's how I felt. And I'm pretty sure everyone else in the theater around me felt the same way. Even though I think it looked like the bear itself, I mean, well, obviously it looked like the bear was some kind of CGI creation. It might have even been a combination of CGI with some kind of mechanical robotic bear or something like that. But it works really well. One other criticism I read about too was some people said that they thought the bear looked way too fake. Or me, I don't know. I didn't really pick up on that. I thought the bear looked pretty accurate. It looked pretty real. I mean, if you stared at it long enough, yeah, you could kind of tell it's a CGI bear. Also too, because I mean, obviously they're not going to use a real live bear, and have all these issues with animal rights and whatnot, and which they shouldn't. I mean, so it's the bear looked pretty real to me, and not only that, but just the way the entire mauling scene, and wow, it was just unrelenting, and it seemed as though it was never going to end. Obviously, it does end, and then I mean, so then Leonardo DiCaprio's character Hugh Glass, after he gets mauled, and successfully takes down this grizzly bear by stabbing her repeatedly. Then he falls into kind of a ditch somewhere, and of course he's then badly injured, and the other guys that he was with, I guess part of his hunting party, they then try to decide whether they should leave him or stitch him up and carry him with them, and they ultimately do carry him with them along, and though it makes the rest of their journey much more difficult, and it's and then to top it off, Hugh Glass, he also has a son who is half Pawnee, I believe. Pawnee, which I guess at some point Hugh Glass, he had a child with a Pawnee woman, and but unfortunately she was killed by, I want to say, some British soldiers or maybe even French soldiers. Sometime after, of course, their son had already been born, and I guess, when he was maybe about, I don't know, 2 or 3 years old. And so this Pawnee woman that he had a kid with, she died, and thus Leonardo DiCaprio's character ends up becoming that much more close to his son. And then there's some issues with the other guys, of course, in his hunting group, and they kind of one guy tries to blame all of their bad luck on his son, and so I don't want to give any more details away, but it ends up becoming a serious issue, and that's when Leonardo DiCaprio, his character Hugh Glass, he gets drugged along. I want to say drugged. So he's drugged along to a certain point until his men decide that they need to split up, and so they then decide for 2 guys, I think 2 or 3 guys, to stay behind with Hugh Glass until he just gradually passes away from all the pain he is experiencing from his wounds and whatnot. And also too, to make sure that he gets a proper burial, and unfortunately he doesn't get that, and without getting into a lot of other details, eventually he gets left behind, and everybody thinks he's dead, and he himself actually believes he's dead, or that he came really, really, really freaking close to death, and which it obviously seemed like he did, and he pretty much did anyways. And that's where the word revenant, the definition of the word revenant actually means